One quick announcement before we start the episode. If you're listening to this around the time this episode is actually being released, whether you live in the US or not, you're probably aware that we just elected our next president. The result of the election was to many a surprise, and there's a sentiment in the air about just how wrong the polls got it. This is a hotly discussed topic presently in many forms of media, and there are some excellent discussions going on the other great data science podcasts that are out there that I definitely encourage you to check out. I myself just finished listening to Decision Boundary 2016 Margin of Terror on Partially Derivative. Lots of you have been asking me for a commentary on this. In fact, I have gotten probably double more requests for feedback or opinion or things like that than any other episode or topic that's ever been on Data Skeptic. So certainly there's a demand here for the Data Skeptic perspective about election polling. Data Skeptic will definitely cover this topic. However, we're going to let the dust settle for just a little bit. Personally, I hear a lot of strong opinions floating around about what exactly happened. Perhaps more knowledgeable people than me have all the answers already, but it seems a bit premature to me to do more than talk about hypotheses. With regard to polling, we might speculate, was it weighted incorrectly? Were the samples all wrong? Did we not reach the right people? Is it turnout that was forecasted wrong, or is it the actual responses that were wrong? Are people lying in polls? Are the polls being manipulated? So on and so forth. I'm going to give this topic a little breathing room. Eventually, we'll come back around and talk about polling, sampling bias, forecasts, and all these other topics. But I'd rather cover this topic seriously in the future, when I myself am better informed about it, than create clickbait right now. I probably will not follow up in 2016. In fact, I won't. We have the year planned out. But we will get back to deeper discussions about this election and elections in particular. You can look forward to a mini episode on Arrow's impossibility theorem and all sorts of things like that. But of course, the polls, or at least the predictions made, shall be the centerpiece discussion of Data Skeptic's treatment of this topic. So stay tuned, we'll get there, be patient, and for today, enjoy learning about the Gini Index.
Data Skeptic mini-episodes provide high-level descriptions of key concepts related to data science and skepticism. Today's topic is the Gini Index.
So, Linda, you enjoy travel, do you not?
Yes,
Why is that?
because it is new, it's different, and I get to eat.
All right. Well, couldn't you do all those things playing laser tag?
Eat? During laser tag? No.
Yeah, it's new and different. You haven't done it before. We can do that at home.
There's no eating.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Not usually. How in tune do you think I am to the types of places you would like to visit or not?
I don't know. I'm actually happy to visit anywhere.
But if I ask you to go to like a machine learning conference, would that be a good vacation?
Oh, that's different from travel. Travel, I want to see the location. But yeah, an event is not travel. An event is an event.
What if I wanted to see the hometown of Archimedes?
What's that?
Archimedes was a famous mathematician, really, who died in 212 BC on the island of Syracuse.
Oh, I thought you meant that was going to be like a theory or something. You're like, Archimedes is the principle that blah, blah. You just meant literally where Archimedes is from. Okay.
Or like, I'd like to go see the Manhattan Project site where they developed that. Would that be a good vacation?
Where is it?
New Mexico, I think. Could be wrong.
Well, we haven't been to New Mexico, so yeah.
Oh, I actually thought you'd put up more of a fight than this, that my choices were not good ones. Oh, I guess that's the end of the episode. I know how to pick a good vacation spot.
New, different food.
What if my idea of a good vacation was just to do like a package deal like Sandals Jamaica or something like that? Caribbean cruises.
That sounds great.
Really? You'd go on a Sandals vacation?
Yeah, but I don't know, like, we'd have to limit how many and how often, how
I feel
much
like
it costs.
you're more adventuresome. You would reject the sort of like cookie cutter model of vacationing.
I guess if it were Jamaica, I'd rather go to Hawaii over Jamaica, only because I think there's more outdoorsy things to do.
So how do you evaluate what's a good destination and what isn't?
We talked about the exchange rate, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah, favorable
How
would be better.
safe it is in that part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of things you can do there, whether it's outdoors or is it like a city and you walk around.
Right.
If it's a city, does it have public transportation? Politics-wise, it should be safe, and they should let us into that country. So that is influenced by politics.
So that's an interesting example, whether or not it's legal and safe for us to go to there. There are a lot of different criteria that we would evaluate in picking a good destination, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, if the place had really good food but wasn't safe, would you still want to go?
I mean, just what level?
How good would the food
Safety.
have to be?
What level of safety? Like, what does it mean to not be safe?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, there's high likelihood you'll be used as a hostage versus like, some people get their pocket picked. That's very
Right.
big range. If I wanted to solve this problem with machine learning.
Wait, what's the problem?
Oh, okay. So it would be, I want to take an input as a city or a country or something like that and build a model that predicts, will Linda like to go there or not? Because I want to make a good suggestion when I bring it to you, not suggest something terrible and have you be upset with me.
Okay, so that's just one point, but what about the places you want to go? You're going to prioritize them first.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's important too, but I feel like you're a little bit more choosy about our travel than I am. I'm just happy pretty much to go and read books and stuff.
Really? You don't care where we go?
Oh, well, I guess I don't want you to push the limits of what that might mean. So perhaps I need to build my own decision tree here. But that's what I'm driving at, is saying that we could build decision trees given some training data that describe these situations. So I could look at variables like how safe is it from some rating of 1 to 10. I don't know how many Michelin star restaurants are in the nearby areas.
I don't care about Michelin restaurants.
Okay, well, maybe I do. But I could look at all these variables and I would maybe try and develop a decision tree that predicts for a new input whether or not Linda would be enthusiastic about going to a location like that. Do you think I'd actually be able to build that? Is that a practical thing?
I don't know, is it? You tell me, builder.
Well, it depends. Are your preferences sufficiently non-random that they're predictable from observed data?
I mean, I think there's places that I just don't think are a good match, but I don't know.
For me, it's more a matter of accuracy. Certainly, I could build some sort of predictor. How perfect would it be? How perfectly accurate would it be is the open question. But there's pretty much an infinite number of different types of decision trees I could build in theory. Of all those observed features, I could pick any one of them and start that as the root of the tree. Do you know what I mean by the root of the tree?
Nope.
Okay, so you know decision trees, right?
Yes.
What is the first step in a decision tree?
The branches.
Yeah, so there's a root node, the first question you ask, right?
Okay.
And the first question, what do you think would be a criteria for a good first question?
I should divide it in half or as close to half as possible.
Ah, that's interesting. That's a good motivation, yeah. Why do you say that, though?
Process of elimination.
Yeah, you'd like to have as much reduction of the decision pool as possible at once. Yeah.
Yes.
The intuition behind that is right on point, but that's more of like the entropy approach, which we're not going to talk about today. We're going to talk about something very similar and in some cases identical, but the Gini index is just a different sort of mathematical format. So maybe I should come up with a general class of how you picked the feature to first use in a node. And actually, this works recursively. If you pick a good first feature, then off each of the child branches, you want to say, well, what's the next thing I need to ask to make a smart decision? And hopefully, as you said, one of the motivations is let's split it as effectively as possible in the first choice. Let's say the first question splits like as a yes or no. You also don't want to ask questions all day. You'd like to arrive at a classification pretty quickly, right? Maybe in 3 or 4 questions, know if it's a good location or not.
What's a classification?
A classification is the resulting prediction of the model, like in this case, classifying as yes or no as to whether or not you would approve of the destination as our vacation spot.
I thought the model was to decide where we would go next, not if I would like it or dislike it.
Where we go next is a bit of a different type of prediction. It's almost like trying to anticipate where we'll go. I'm, in this case, talking about building a model that just analyzes new locations and says, are they good for us or not? I think you'd have to admit it takes a certain amount of research before we decide if we like a location or not, right? Where were you thinking?
Lisbon.
Yeah. Are we still on the Lisbon train?
I don't know. It's a bit out of the way and it's small.
Yeah, you've been wavering. You used to be more excited.
I didn't know it was so out of the way.
Takes a lot of time, right, to get to the bottom of stuff like this?
I don't know. What's a lot of time?
I don't know, maybe an hour at least of research.
Oh, it takes more.
Way more? Okay, so wouldn't you love to have that time saved by a model that could pre-classify whether or not it was a good choice to explore?
I don't know.
Well, that's something we could use decision trees to do. And we want to come up with the best possible decision tree. So you observed, one useful feature is that at each step in the decision tree as you construct it, when you're going to add a new node of like, what's the next question we ask, you'd like to, in your words, split it kind of evenly. The Gini index takes that kind of intuition to heart in a way. What it does is it sums over the frequency of options and multiplies by the co-occurrence of that option with each output.
I don't know what that means. Can you break that down?
For example, like the question, is it safe to go there, like politically speaking? Now, that's an important question, definitely, in all of our choices, but should it be the first question in the decision tree? Let's think about it for a minute. Out of all the places we might consider, what percentage do you think have like that sort of political potential issue where we could be taken hostage or something?
I don't know.
Do you think it's 50% of places?
Hopefully less.
Yeah, I think it's
especially
less.
if you're counting it by country.
Although those places do exist, there are finitely many of them in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if the first thing we consider in the decision tree is whether or not it's politically safe, we would only result in adding a little bit of information to the decision in the first step. So if you can picture like a decision tree, and there's the root node says, is it politically safe? The yes child is the majority of countries, probably I would guess 80 or 90%, and the no child is only 10%. And of course, everybody in the no branch is a place we don't want to go, right? I don't think you want to go anywhere risky where we have to be in disguise or stuff.
Right.
So in one sense, asking that question first is really good because it's very discriminative. Any country where it's not politically safe, we definitely don't want to go. So 100% of that group is now in the same category. They're all no's. But that category as a whole is not that frequent. So we'd like to find something that balances these two metrics. We'd like to ask a question that is both frequent in occurrence and how it distributes, like lots of yeses and nos. So the Gini index tries to capture both those motivations by saying you sum over the frequency of each outcome. So in the case of is it politically safe, it's yes or no. Maybe in the question of like how many beaches are there, it's 1 through n. But let's do something silly, for example. What if we studied whether or not the leader of the country had brown eyes, blue eyes, or green eyes?
I don't think it would correlate.
Yeah, I doubt very much that would correlate. So although those traits have a lot of frequency, that would divide up the groups pretty good, it wouldn't correlate with our outcome, which is do we want to visit it or not. So it would probably be the toss of a coin as we split across those groups, so that wouldn't be a useful feature. We want to find features that have a good coverage, that apply to a lot of cases, and that when we split on them, they provide a lot more information about the decision we're going to make eventually, in terms of yes or no.
Okay, so what should be the first question?
Well, I would need a training data set to answer that properly. But I think the first question for us, personally, just the way we travel, would be if we've already been somewhere similar, we're less inclined to go again, right?
Right. That's important.
Yeah. With that in mind, though, we went to Berlin a few years ago, and now we're talking about maybe going to Frankfurt.
I mean, it's probably similar to Berlin just because it's in Germany, but it's probably different enough.
Well, also, we have a friend there, right, that we can stay with. Oh, so that actually makes a big impact. Do we have someone where we can stay for free?
Yeah.
So that sort of figures into price. So I don't know if Gini Index would pick up that a lot because technically we don't have that many countries where there's a free place for us to stay. So our decision tree might not use that feature, even though it's a very powerful one. Because ultimately, when you build decision trees based on Gini Index, you're working with something called the max gain of Gini. So at every individual node, you would say, if I split on all the features that are left that I haven't considered before, which one increases the Gini index for each of the children the most? And I would pick that one because I want to know that helps me be really discriminating in the rest of the steps. And then, of course, you also want to set a threshold where you say below a certain gain, it's not worth it. If the gain is insignificant, you don't split anymore. And that's how you avoid having these overfit, overly complex trees.
I mean, that kind of sounds like just if you're a person trying to figure out where do you want to go, a travel agent. I'm assuming the travel agent asks the best questions.
Well, that would be an interesting test. For sure, travel agents, even though they might not be thinking this way, they're executing an algorithm in their minds of doing something like a decision tree. They're trying to arrive at a model of their customers' preferences as quickly as possible because they don't want to annoy them, right? Asking them thousands of questions about what they do or don't want to see. So just like that, we'd like to algorithmically come up with the optimal decision tree. And Gini, if you trust that Gini Index is your objective measure, then there are good algorithms for finding the optimal tree. So with this in mind, any new thoughts on our vacation spots for next year?
Seems like it's better we do research rather than build a decision tree.
All right, well, you do the research and give me the training data, and then I'll build the model.
Where's the training data?
You have to generate it.
I'm not a computer.
And then you just make a spreadsheet of all the features, and then yes or no if you want to go to a country or not.
Oh, that's too much work.
Well, no pain, no gain.
I didn't know if I'd gain anything.
You would gain an optimal vacation choice.
I think I can make I'm pretty happy wherever we go.
Data always wins, Linda.
No, my experience wins.
Your experience is data. It's training data. Well, all right. Well, I think that wraps up for today. I just want to remind everyone to keep thinking skeptically of and with data. Good night, Linda.
Good night. For more on this episode, visit dataskeptic.com. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a review on iTunes or Stitcher.